All right, hopefully you've got your message box working and you've tested your application, and so you're now successfully prompting the user for how many sides, and you're looping through the number of sides that the user says. You're turning 360 divided by the number of sides in order to create that. Now we want to play around with some of the other parameters that are here in our simple square procedure in order to just have a bit of fun. So the first thing here is you can see at the moment each time we each time we draw our square, we're still just sticking with our 50 pixel sides. So what we'd like to do is have it play around with some of these values now. So I'm going to change that to move 25, and then when we run our procedure, we should now get a smaller square. So I'm going to say 4 squares and get a smaller square. Now, there we go, beautiful. All right, so we can play around with our move value. You can make the square larger as well. And you can also play around with the set pen color variable or value. So one of the better ways to do that is to actually delete where it said blue. And you'll see when I start to type the word colors with a capital C, that one of the objects there, or one of the classes there for me, is actually called colors, and when I put a dot after the class colors, you'll see I actually get a whole lot of really interesting colors, like azure. I have no idea what color azure is, but you can choose some of those colors as well. And when we now run our procedure and we've got our azure color, look at that, it's a tiny light blue. And so you can have a play around with the colors. Now, one of the other funky things in this colors object is that if you push the dot and you scroll down through the list here, one of the colors is a random color. And so I'm going to get you to have a think, first of all, about where you would potentially find that random color. And what that will do is every time this procedure runs, it will just simply choose for you a random color as well. So have a play around with some of the colors that exist there in that list, and then see if you can actually find the random color so that each time your procedure runs, it's going to give you a different color on your screen. All right, give that a go, and I'll just make it red at the moment for my color, except I need a capital because I didn't choose it from the list. There we go. So give that a go and have a play around with the size of the move, first of all, and the colors that are available. And we're actually going to do one more thing as well, because in here at the moment, our pen width is a bit boring. So at the moment, we're just using the default pen width, which is 2. So what we're going to do is add a new line at the start where we set the pen color right there. So I've just pressed enter to insert a new line, and we're going to go tortoise dot, and you'll see in here you can actually play around with the pen width. So let's double click on pen width, and when we hover over there we get our help. You'll see that we can... What do you mean it doesn't exist? Of course it does. It's probably called width, is it? Let's try 10 anyway. Yep, sets the width of the pen drawn by the turtle. And so now we've got a much wider pen. And so when we set our pen equal to 10, our turtle is going to hopefully draw a much wider square. Now you can play around with your variables in here as well. So at the moment, remember we've got this lovely little looping variable here that each time our procedure runs, I is being incremented. So I is a variable that exists here. And so what we could actually do is we could say every time it runs, let's use I and multiply it by 4. And so what this is going to do is on the first loop through, I is going to be equal to 1, and so this is going to set the value equal to 4. The next time it's going to be 2, and so I would become, or the I times 4 would become equal to 8. The third time it would become 12, and so each time it runs, our pen width is going to get slightly larger. So if we start to draw some more interesting shapes, you'll see the first one was actually 0, but each time it's now going, the pen is getting slightly larger as we go. Now you can play around with the angle that's been turned also by using I in this mathematical equation here. And you can also play around with I here in the move value, so you could make it get longer every time as well as get wider every time the procedure runs. So have a play around with the colors, remembering that you've got a get random color. I just gave you the answer, didn't I? Colors get random color. We've got an error there somewhere. Oh, that probably needs to be a bracket because it's a function. Yep. So we've now got our get random color. We've got our variables for our sides. And there we go. We've now got our sides growing in shape. And so we can start to get some funky shapes being drawn as we go. Let's go with a 20-sided shape and see what happens to our procedure now. And you can see he's starting to draw much bigger, go maximized. And so each time it's drawing, we're getting a random color, getting a larger width, and we're still completing our shape. All right, so have a play around with that procedure now, vary some of the other parameters, and see what weird and wonderful shapes you can come up with that basic polygon procedure.